What's going on, everybody? Give me a sec. I need to get my glove on. I am walking to the office today, dressed up like a freaking Eskimo because it's cold and it's windy. But, you know, I can't really beat this walk to the office. I mean, I know that everything's, all the trees are bare. Hopefully you can hear me because this wind is, it's rough. It's rough. Usually up here, the wind, you don't feel it because the leaves are on the trees, but not right now. So it's, anyway, wanted to bring up a couple things, primarily for the beginners in anything, like the creative industry, right? Because that's what I've been talking about with 124. You see a lot of people that they say, I'm not good enough to do the projects for clients. I'm not good enough yet. I can't sell services. It's I'm out of shape. Boy, that wasn't even that big of a hill. Hold on. I'm not dying or anything, but it's hard to talk while doing that. You know what? Let's go over here. You know what? I'll just lean up against the tree because, that's nice. That protects me a little bit. So, I see this with a lot of people. My wife, who's a super creative person, it kind of helped to inspire this, and some other people that I've been talking to on the channel. Just the best advice I can give, or the best story, I guess, I don't know, is that the fact that you're thinking about, let's say you're a photographer, okay? So the fact that you think photography, the fact that you're interested in photography is already going to give you an edge over people that don't. So in my case, with clients, they may be able to do photos. They may be able to grab an iPhone. I'm on my iPhone, by the way, so hopefully it looks like the quality is pretty good. They might be able to take photos. They might even know how to use a DSLR. This has happened in the past, but that's not their focus. And so they need their brain and energies to go to whatever their focus is. And so if your focus is to be a photographer and you like photography, you're naturally going to gear towards learning the gear. I mean, we all have the gear acquisition syndrome, so we're all looking at the newest and best and like, I love the new Sony. I don't even know what the new Sony is. A7 Mark something? I don't know. I don't follow Sony, but I also stopped really kind of following gear for the most part because I have what I need. And I have things that I haven't used for years that I've invested in, and I need to stop that. So I've actually kind of flipped the switch. Anyway, that's not what this is about. This is about the fact that you're interested in something, the fact that you want to be a photographer, or if you're like a 3D modeler or something like that. Almost dropped you. The fact that you have an interest in it means that you're going to be invested in it, even just on your own time. So, like, in this case, you're watching me, some guy, just sit here in the cold and talk to you about being a photographer or being a creative individual and trying to maybe absorb something that I'm saying and maybe apply it. I don't know if that's what you're looking for, or maybe you just like to watch guys in the cold, in the woods. That's okay too. I get it. Take this guy down. But the fact that you're doing this, if you think about it, what client is, in my world, I don't know any photography clients that are actually on YouTube that are like, I got to see what Pete's up to, or I got to see what Tom's doing. And so the fact that you're doing that, you're investing your time, you're investing your interest in it. So you're starting to, even if you're just on the beginning path of this, you're starting to breathe it. You're starting to live it. You're starting to just absorb everything that you can. Now, you have to take the stuff that you're absorbing and turn it into something eventually, because otherwise you're just consuming the content and not really absorbing it necessarily. But that's the first step. You're kind of learning. You're getting your legs. So my story time would be when I graduated, not high school. When I graduated college, when I graduated university, I remember feeling like I got great education. It was a great school, got great education, and I remember feeling like, I'll feel like a professional when I get out, and I didn't. I remember the last 2 months, I kept feeling like, okay, when is it going to trigger? I think like 2 months before I graduated, I was like, wait a minute, I don't know anything yet. I mean, I knew a lot. And I now looking back, I could realize how much I knew, because the idea is that I know more than the average bear. I knew how to use the entire Adobe suite, even though I didn't need the entire Adobe suite. Being familiar with it in my world at the time I graduated as a graphic designer, I got exposed to so many different things, and that's actually, I never thought that I'd like coding, and coding was where I took off. That's where I enjoyed it. I don't do it anymore, but understanding it, like in college, I just like, dude, I ate that up, and I never thought that I would. Photoshop, photography, anything to do with imaging or video editing, like that's because of my interest, and that's the stuff that before I went to school, that's the stuff that I was absorbing. That was the stuff that I was taking in. So that's where I felt the strength of where my knowledge was, and so I just like dove into it. But the sheer fact that with clients, back to photography, I've had clients that for me, I'm like, why do you need me? Like, you don't say that to the client, but I say like to myself, like, they have a DSLR and the photos that they're taking are good. And even if my photos aren't better than theirs, I'm able to help them take that off their plate. So it's worth it to them to hire a professional photographer, because they're not professional photographers. They're maybe social media gurus. Maybe that's why they need the photography, and they know that photography is really important with social media, but they're focused on the social media campaign, developing that, the marketing strategy, like all that stuff. But the photography itself, it's just like, I just need a photo. And I don't want to have to think about it. Or I don't want to have to go out and take the shots. Whereas for me, like, because I live this, because I love this, because I've been wanting to do this since I was a kid, it's not only do I breathe it and eat it, when I get a chance to go out and do it, it's like, I'm not working. Like, I mean, I am working, but it doesn't feel like work. And that is where your strength is. That's why you should, if you feel like, I'm not good enough yet. Yeah, you might not be the next Ansel Adams, but you might even be, up above Ansel, but it's the idea is you need to start somewhere. You need to start and get going, so that you can get that experience at whatever level it is. So don't let the fear of I'm not good enough dictate what your actions are. So like back to that book that I wrote, 10 Things. It at the time I was so excited to actually have a chance to write it, just write, period. It's a little disjointed, but I even like put it in the beginning, like, hey, this is like, the chapters are not all interlocked. Like I talk about personal training, because I was a personal trainer at the time. So a lot of my thought process was through the filter of that. I think I talk about writing. I talk about my battle with epilepsy. I talk about feeling inspired by yourself, like by myself, of myself, I guess, like seeing yourself for who you truly are and not what you think other people feel. So like it's a little disjointed in that way, but that's the way that I designed it, and partially because I just wanted to write. So that helped me. Taking that plunge helped me to kind of really get the ball going with continuing to take the plunge. Now, I'm not going to say that I always do. I'm not going to say that I'm always perfect. I'm never perfect. Nobody's ever perfect. Newsflash, you're not going to be perfect. But there's some freedom in that. Nobody is going to be perfect. You can't be perfect. But you can be better than your client. And you don't even have to be better at your client. If you're, let's say, taking photos, you should probably be able to take a better photo than your client. So don't go after people that have these amazing, wonderful social media campaigns with these like delicious photos, like the ones that are just like, oh my God, I wish I could take something like that. Maybe set your sights lower and do something for like volunteer your time so that you can feel your way through doing the process. And I mean volunteer your time for something that is meaningful to you. So like if there's a group, like maybe you're into mini painting, so maybe if you go to a group, see if the group doesn't mind you taking photos to promote the group, or if you have a local comic book shop, just some shop that you like to go to that you kind of hang out, maybe a bookstore or something, say, hey, would you mind if I take some photos? Because sometimes businesses don't like you taking photos, or definitely not doing this. Most businesses don't like when people video themselves, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, kind of cutting your teeth. And then you're going to start to realize where your weak points are. And even if that means like, oh, hey, I have a tendency to blow out my image. Like if you look right here, that's blown out. That's way too bright. So if I was to like try to edit this down, I'm not going to, but if I was going to try to edit this down, then the brightness, I'm not going to be able to pull that information back. You can see actually, you see where the blue is along the trees? That's, fringing. So that's what happens because the light isn't as powerful because it's being filtered through the pine needles and whatever. So you might end up seeing like, oh, I didn't realize that I have a tendency to blow out the sky. So small things like that, but more so, you'll be able to kind of fine tune your process, let's say in Lightroom, and say, show your deliverable qualities. Not just that you could take a good photo, but try to like time yourself. For example, like do a test run and say, okay, I'm gonna take however many photos. Let's say you took 300 photos of this guy's comic book shop, and you import them into Lightroom. You've probably done importing into Lightroom or whatever your software of choice is, but I'm going to say Lightroom. You import it into Lightroom and have this. Don't give them the time frame of like, I'll have these to you on Monday. Give yourself a little extra wiggle room, but for you, practice like you're being paid. And see the process and put that kind of pressure on yourself. Don't tell the client, even if it's volunteer, like, hey, I'll have this to you on Monday. It's better to give yourself wiggle room and say, I'll have this to you next week. And if you deliver it Monday, phenomenal. That's awesome. But don't put that pressure on yourself. Let yourself have that wiggle room to play around or get things the way you want, because in the beginning, for whatever it is that you're doing, you're probably going to like pixel peep. You're going to be like, this, oh my God, this needs to go over to the left. No, wait, this one needs to go over to the right. No, oh my God, I need to look. What if I zoom out a little bit? No, wait, zoom in. Okay, let's crop it. What about that? Oh, maybe I wish that his face was like right there. And oh, wait, like that? No, like that? No, like that? Nope. Like everybody does that, where they'll like zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, and like try to fix stuff or like move the sliders. Like just like 1% to the right or 1% to the left, and it's really not making a difference. I did that so much in my early days. I'm not going to say that I don't do that now, but I catch myself and I stop myself and I say, Dave, stop it. Anyway, that's one of the newbie mistakes. Also, stream of consciousness thing. I was trying to find my book 10 things, and it was before I had a good naming convention, and like I had the date. I thought I was doing a good thing, but it was like I have the final version, but I also have the final version. Like, you know, when you label it final and then you label it again, like, oh, I made some revisions, final, and then you're like, oh wait, I made some more changes, final. Like, young Dave. But anyway, so the idea is you're probably better at what you're doing than your client if you're just interested in doing this stuff anyway. If you have this passion for it, then go for it. Just set your sights realistic. Like, don't try to go after Coca-Cola. Don't say, oh man, I want Coca-Cola as my first client, and you've never cut your teeth on client relations even. That's a whole nother thing. And that's probably what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. But like, I've had to change my hat from being like mentally, I've had to change from being like, oh, I'm a photographer that's going out to run my business. I've had to completely shift that and say, I'm a businessman who takes photos. Like, mentally, that's just how I have to kind of run my thinking. And since I've done that, it's been very helpful, because the photography aspect I don't think about. Like, it's rote at this point. It's like automatic in my fingers. It's automatic in my eyeballs. And like, I've done so many photos and delivered so many photos that I know the process at this point. So I could do it in my sleep. But the business side of things, I've always been geared a little bit more towards business, but I'm also a newer business guy. So it's like, oh, well, I don't want to. It's all those challenges, which I'll talk about coming up this week. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. I got a couple things on the list of what I want to talk about. But for right now, I'm cold. I'm going to keep on walking. Until next time, be good to each other. My God, this is cold. Oh, Jesus. Oh, it's so cold. Look at this. You probably can't even hear me because the wind is so freaking cold. That doesn't make any sense. Wind is so cold, that's why you can't hear me. The wind is so powerful, so you probably can't. Really?
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
I just got something in my mouth. By the way, look, we got some snow. Sick. All right, I'm gonna go. Bye. No, I'm gonna go. It doesn't work. You had gloves on.